Hey guys, welcome to the 429 podcast. I'm 9.
I'm 2.
And I'm 4.
And today we'll be talking about the topic of local multiplayer versus online multiplayer. So if you guys don't know, in the last recent years, online multiplayer has been gaining huge popularity to the point that now it's the main standard of multiplayer. Online multiplayer basically means that essentially instead of connecting over via Wi-Fi or internet, you're able to connect to friends or family across huge distances and play over the same network and game. Local multiplayer is essentially what it sounds like. Instead of playing over the internet, you're playing locally, one-on-one in the same room together. So the question is, if you notice in the last few years, or if you've been gaming as long as I have, local multiplayer has been taking a back seat towards online multiplayer, especially since the mid-2000s where Xbox Live became very widely popular. Mm-hmm. So I don't know about you guys, but what's your opinions on online local multiplayer right now?
Go ahead. What do you think?
So I guess I'll start off. So online multiplayer has been really nice. You know, I grew up with online multiplayer back in middle school. You know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I think I said this on another podcast episode before too, but that was like my go-to game.
Yeah.
Right. I used to come home from school, and then on the weekends, I used to just like get all my friends online. We used to be playing all the time online, and then some special operations missions and stuff like that too, which was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
So online multiplayer for me was like the epitome of like the epitome of me growing up. And so I really liked that because I really enjoyed playing with my friends. We were all in our own houses, so we all had our own big TVs and everything. But to converse that, you know, in college, on the other hand, local multiplayer became sort of the big thing for me. So as you guys may already know, I was a CS major in college. So us CS majors are known for being, you know, huge nerds. I'm not sure if that was out there in the community yet, but we're huge nerds.
Stereotype.
Not us.
Yeah. Clearly, by our 429 podcast name, we're not nerds at all.
I'm a bodybuilder.
In his imagination.
I'm getting there.
Where was I going with this? So local multiplayer, a lot of that came really in college, where, you know, especially my senior year, because, you know, senior artist is a very real thing. Played a lot of Smash. So Smash, the new Smash game, I don't even know what it's called, to be honest with you.
Smash Ultimate.
Smash Ultimate, right? So the new Smash game, Smash Ultimate, was out. And so, you know, 9 and 4 over here, as well as a bunch of our other buddies, usually got together either at 9's place, 4's place, my place, or even at one night at the end of the semester after all our finals were over. We literally camped out at one of our Linux laboratories, and we launched it on the big projector, and we were playing Smash Ultimate on the big projector until security eventually kicked us out. But
I forgot about that.
So, you know, local I didn't forget. I was doing homework in the back because I still had an assignment due. But local multiplayer for me, you know, in college really took off. And right now, personally, although it's tough to do local multiplayer because of the current, you know, COVID-19 situation, I prefer local multiplayer overall. Like, I really want to go back to the local multiplayer of, you know, us hanging out, us being together, because, you know, every time we would do one of those hangouts or whatever, it's usually just us, you know, we're all above 21 too, so a bunch of beers and usually some Chick-fil-A or some other type of fast food, and we're all just chilling, relaxing, all playing video games, cracking jokes, and it's so much nicer to play in person because, one, there's no lag.
Yeah.
Two, you don't take the game as seriously, right? We're all just there to have a good time. We're not really there to like play competitively.
Mm-hmm.
And 3, it's just a nice atmosphere, right? It's very relaxing, very, you know, calming. And I feel like every time we finish one of those sessions, it makes us get a lot closer together, especially because, like, you guys already know, we have friends we have one from Kazakhstan, one from Oklahoma, right? One lives all the way like deep at like the south end of Long Island, right? So it's like, it's nice to get like at least once a month, all of us together playing video games, chilling, relaxing. It's sort of just like our go-to just hangout kind of idea.
Mm-hmm. So right? your current stance right now is basically like, you know, online multiplayer has its perks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's just something about local multiplayer that you just can't replace. The experience and the overall interaction, the human interaction and atmosphere, essentially something that can't be, you know, experienced through online.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's a good point. Phil, what are your opinions on online and local?
So, I mean, you guys have heard my opinions in other episodes on kind of like how into the online gaming scene I've been throughout my life. But I've also had a lot of experience in the local multiplayer scene, I guess. So I would always have my cousins and my friends over, and especially with the GameCube, we would always be playing, a bunch of different GameCube games, all co-op, split screen on a little, 20-something inch TV, if that. And I mean, those types of experiences are, one, what kind of brought me into gaming. But two, I mean, those are things that like you kind of bond over, right? Like those types of nights and those experiences are things that like, me and my friends and my cousins will talk about. Like, still, these are things that happened years and years ago, between the age of whatever, like super young. And like, if we get together, like, oh, we're still talking about like, oh my God, you remember when we used to play that game together on the little TV, like blah, blah, blah. Right. So there is something to be said for the amount of like kind of closeness that you get by playing games together all the
100%.
time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also had a lot of online friends, like I mentioned in previous episodes, where I mean I'm close with them, and like I said, some of the people I've met through online gaming is, they're some of my closer friends even today, and I mean some of them I've spent more time with them than I have my actual in real life friends. So I mean there's also something to be said about not only playing people through online multiplayer, but also the capability for you to meet new people who you wouldn't otherwise be able to meet on online multiplayer. Now, I mean, there is also kind of this like funny bridge, right? Because, for instance, like you guys said, like I've said before, I've played a lot of WoW back in the day, World of Warcraft, and one of my cousins also played a lot of World of Warcraft. So what would we do? I'd bring my laptop to his house. We'd sit at his dining room table, and we'd play World of Warcraft like all Friday night after school and all day Saturday. And like, we did this for years. We played WoW together, and like that's an online game. Like we could have done that from my house and his house. Is there really a reason for us to get together to play WoW when we could have just like called each other on the phone and played the same thing? No. But I mean, there's just something to be said about being in the same room with somebody else and like actually being able to talk to them, and snack breaks and maybe ordering pizza or getting sodas and stuff. Like it really is just a really, really great form of bonding. And I mean, I know like LAN parties can be seen as like some like the nerdy things or whatever, but I mean I've been doing stuff like that all my life, and I mean I just think they're really great experiences and they allow you to get really close with people. So I do think that both online and local multiplayer both have their advantages. I think they're good in their own way, and I can kind of see how local multiplayer has become less prominent because of how good online multiplayer has gotten and how widespread it's gotten. And I really don't like the fact that it's getting smaller and smaller over time, but I think they both have their own respective place in the gaming industry.
I mean, you make really good points for honestly. Like, there's some things to consider. That it's not only local multiplayer has really good benefits, right? That two really showed us and told us, but there's something about online, and there's a reason why it's so popular. And the current standard right now when it comes to multiplayer, right? It's not just that for for one thing or another. There's a lot of great benefits. I think we should go off. Let me just give some advantages of online multiplayer that you said, as well as local multiplayer. I think one, with online multiplayer, you get that huge convenience, right? That's number one, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's just nothing easier than being able to call a buddy over, saying you're down for Call of Duty at 8. Yep. Turn on the Xbox, and then it's at 8 p.m. on the dot. You guys are both from each other's homes, connected to a party, ready to play for the night. There's no packaging the Xbox up. There's no, or the computer, driving over to your friends who could be an hour away, getting everything set up, grabbing stuff. That's huge convenience stuff, right? And another good thing that I haven't even considered what you said for was you get to meet people that you wouldn't have not even thought of meeting. Make friendships and relationships of people that you probably would never have met if it wasn't for that sort of experience or situation of playing games. I also personally have made a lot of relationships and made friendships over my childhood and over my years playing games like Halo and other what's it called, RPGs online, of people of across the world. I have met people from South America that were playing, Asia, Europe, and I would have never met these people if really we were both in our adolescents playing this game, you know. And I mean, and I got to really see and experience cultures, technically in a way, through these people as I talked to them, and we talk back, and I got to learn more. So there's definitely an advantage of online multiplayer with the convenience and the ability to meet new people. And then you have local multiplayer, which, like you said, it's just an experience, as Stu said. It's something, it's such a bond moment, as also Forrest says. There's something completely different than just, booting up the Xbox and playing online. When you have a buddy coming over and it's a whole event, that you have to organize, and it's around. You got to get chips, get beer. It's kind of like a party. Think about it, right? It's an experience.
A nerdy party.
A nerdy party, but I mean, it's a party nonetheless. And at the end of the day, this is why, there is a constant, I would say, debate between if online multiplayer really deserves to be the set-all replacement to local multiplayer, or is local multiplayer to have a place in today's gaming industry. A thing to mention is that, unfortunately, it seems like online multiplayer is the current, completely taking over on local multiplayer. And that's been going on since the mid 2000s, right? I don't know if you guys ever experienced Xbox Live, or the first Xbox Live service. Have you guys ever had an experience with that?
Oh, yeah, 11-year-olds cursing me out. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's something, right? I mean, but you gotta remember back in, like, what is it, 06, right? This was like something unheard of, completely unheard of. The fact that I can, hook up my console, my box, my electronic box to a router and talk to some guy from across the country, having me curse out in Spanish. That's an experience, right? It's an experience, a good one maybe, but it's an experience, and it really, I think at that time added a lot of wow factor to a lot of games. Like, I mean, Call of Duty wouldn't be as popular if online multiplayer wasn't a thing. You really think Call of Duty would be the juggernaut it is right now if it didn't have online multiplayer implemented?
Oh,
I don't know, man. That story mode was really good.
You mean the story mode that you haven't played since then?
Look, all right, we don't gotta talk about why I didn't play the modern.
I'm just saying. The story mode. Don't get me wrong. That's some good story mode. I treat it as like a movie experience. But Call of Duty owns its pretty much all its popularity to the launch of Xbox Live and PlayStation Network during those times, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were just something. It's hard to explain unless you were there to really experience, right? And it was the fact that I can, like, message people, make friends, have a sort of a separate friends list from my real friends, and always constantly being basically online in a community, right? It felt like a community every time you play these games.
So I got a question for both of you real quick then, right? Because you guys keep mentioning, like, this community, you guys made online friends and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys never have that fear of, like, stranger danger? Because, like, I remember when I played online, hell, I just muted everyone besides whoever I was playing with, and that was pretty much it for me, right? So it's like, you guys never had that fear of, like, stranger danger, being hunted down or killed in your sleep or something like that?
Honestly, I think partly was I was a kid, so I didn't even think about it that far. And two, I didn't really have any information on my accounts back then. Right? So, like, there wasn't really any big fear of, like, I wasn't dumb to put, like, my full name 09 or something as my gamer tag back then, I didn't. If you look at my profile back, I think it's still up. My Xbox Live profile, it literally has no information. I think I literally put my location as, like, my home in Spanish.
I always put Beverly Hills, California. Why? I don't know. That was the only zip code I could ever remember.
See,
what is it anyway?
The zip code's 90210.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. What were you saying for?
So I never really had that fear. I guess it was there, right? But I was just always smart about it. Like, you guys know I'm huge into privacy and security, and, like, my whole, like, privacy mindset, I guess, has, like, kind of always been a thing. And, like, my parents, even at a young age, they kind of instilled that in me, like, don't tell anyone online where you live. Like, don't tell anyone your real name. Like, so I would say up through most of, like, Xbox Live and all of that, pretty much all of my interaction with my online friends, they remain purely online, right? Like I'd add them to my friends list, like that's it. I'd get on if they're on, great, we can play. If they're not on, like it's not like I had their phone number and I can just text them, right? So there was really never any risk for a stranger danger because we just people, at least people that I saw, never they didn't exchange information that much, right? Now the only time I ever really got more into personal contact with people on the internet was years later when I was much older, playing, like I said, other games like like World of Warcraft, for example. And even then, I was still always very, very conscious of what information I would divulge, right? So like typically I'd tell people, oh, I'm from this state, and like that's as general as I'll get. I'm from a state. Maybe if we wanted to contact outside of a game, and this is before Discord, we were using Ventrilo or freaking TeamSpeak or something, older programs, so they don't have offline features where you can message people and get notifications. But eventually I started using Snapchat, right, in like ghost mode, my location and things turned off, and that's how I'd message people outside of it, completely separated from the rest of my life. And now I can communicate with my online friends. If they're on, I can get on, whatever, and now that becomes even easier through Discord, where I can actually just add people as friends. It's super easy to get notifications, to contact people. I've only actually met one of my good online friends in real life. Nine, you were actually there. You probably remember this. It was him and his son. We met at a Waffle House.
Oh yes. Yep. I did remember this. This was a good time. Yeah.
And
I remember. I was really surprised when you told me that because you were. It was so sudden. It was like a last minute thing.
Yep.
Our whole road trip, and you're like, "Have you ever met this guy before?" And you're like, "Nope." And I'm like, "Ooh, all right."
Was this the hackathon? Was this after the hackathon?
Yeah.
This was yeah.
So we met at a public space, and I mean, like, we were adults at this point. We're like, I think we were like 19 or 19 at the time.
He had a kid.
He did. Yeah, he was a couple years old.
Yeah, he had a
He
kid.
was like 20 something, mid-20s at the time. I can't
Yeah,
quite remember. But
and like even I never talked to this guy before prior to this, right? So I had no like anything prior notions to him.
Mm-hmm.
But like he seemed like a pretty nice dude. Like he was really chill. And the way Four and him talk, like they seemed like they had like they were buddies, like instantly. Mm-hmm. Like they had a bunch of things to talk about. It was like basically a reunion of buddies that had been like together since like high school.
And that's
I guess the main thing is like
Go ahead too.
Yeah, so I was thinking, I guess the main thing is like, and I guess you guys experience this more than I have, like the video game community as a whole, right?
Yeah.
They're not bad people, right? Everyone's just trying to play the games, have a good time, maybe get a super competitive, get super heated, right? At times. But the majority of people, I would say, are normal people.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say yes. I mean, like every community has their bad.
Yeah, and so that's what
right?
I was gonna say. You still have that 10-20% group that, again, ruins it for the rest of the community and causes these things like a fear like mine, like stranger danger. I don't want to talk to anyone online, right?
Mm-hmm. I think a thing to consider, right, is this is probably an extension of what Ford said earlier. But it's a lot easier to connect, and I think that adds to the danger. Actually, the fact that it's so easy to connect now, that everyone has a Discord, that everyone can easily connect to you, that your Xbox profile is not connected to can be connected to your Facebook or Twitter, right? Mm-hmm. These interconnection things that we didn't have back when us were starting out. I think actually makes it a lot easier for these stranger dangers to attack kids and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah.
I think that's partly the factor. And I think another thing is like Four said, we were smart about this, right? We were kids, but we weren't dumb. Like I never told anyone my address completely. Like I said, like Four said, I did the same thing. I said the state, and that was to the extent, right? And even I would say I was even more cautious than Four because there's a reason I don't talk to these friends anymore. Is because I never had any connection outside of Xbox. And when I moved over from Xbox Live to PlayStation around 2013,
they just thought you died.
They thought I died, honestly. And it happens. We just grew apart. Like, looking back on it, it wasn't like an instant thing. Like, what's it called? Oh, I'm getting off. I'm not talking to you again. It was like a gradual thing. Mm-hmm. I think the meme. I don't know if you ever saw this meme, but that meme with Paul Walker, where he's like, "I'll see you tomorrow," and then he never comes back.
Yep.
I think that was the meme that pretty much perfectly illustrates that kind of like relationship where you're like, "Oh, I'll see you next week or whatever to play Minecraft," right? And you're like, "Yeah, sure," and he's like last online like 5 years ago
You know,
or 10 years ago.
you're right. This is
And,
such a new. This is actually a recent meme too. I've seen this where it's like,
yes,
it's like,
and it's an experience if you think about it.
yeah,
It's like it's a new experience if you think about it. It's not something that I think experience like ever really happened to people prior to like 2 or 3 generations, because like online multiplayer is still relatively a new thing, right? It's only recently like it grew like maybe 10 more than 10 years, like, and because of that it's like it's weird that like you can have friends that you consider true friends but just never meet,
hmm
right? And that's totally fine because and I found myself talking about things that I wouldn't talk to my real friends because there was this sort of like space,
yeah,
because like it's an online persona, it's an online avatar, and there wasn't any stigma or judgment
hmm
because everyone didn't know each other that personally. And as Forrest said, it can grow into actual true friendships that you guys actually extract information. Unfortunately for me, I didn't go to that step. It kind of like gradually fell off with how popular Fallout Halo 3, which was my main game back then. We just kind of all started playing different games, and then because we all started playing different games, we just never hooked up again and played again.
You know, another thing that's become really popular and I think adds to a lot of this, like, connecting with your online friends, is
Yeah.
different, like, cons and conventions, right? Like, a lot of people go to TwitchCon, right? And they're meeting their favorite streamers and people they know from Twitch and people they play video games with, right? They'll go to, like, PAX East, PAX West, right?
Yes.
So now
Yes.
these are big hubs that kind of attract all of these people from across the globe, or, at least from across America. And you and your friends, like I've had the occasion where we're thinking about it. It's like, hey, we should all go to PAX. Like that'd be fun, right? Like
You know,
those are things that happen now.
I think it's I remember, right? I think the evolution of what me and Four had of these like online friends and these online communities is, I think, was the gradual evolvement to these stream interactions. Now we notice that like a lot of people, like I have a younger brother, right? He doesn't really make friends in the online space, right? Like I did back
hmm
when I was his age. He just has like a one or two friends that he knows personally, and he plays with them back and forth, right? But I think because that the reason is because of that is because streamers, right, YouTubers, like these big personas, replace that kind of online friends, right?
Yeah.
Instead of making an online friend now and having a community of like a gang, online gang together, hanging out, people have now just gradually evolved to just being or revolving around one big streamer, one big online YouTuber, and being quote unquote friends. Because if you notice, a lot of these YouTubers, right, they talk to their fans like they're friends,
hmm
right?
hmm
It's why they do donations and why they love doing fan events and stuff like that, because these people really think that they're friends. I mean, and maybe to some extent, some streamers do really think these fans are their friends.
hmm
I can't say on a personal level that X streamer is just using his fans for revenue, or X streamer actually treats his fans like friends. But I think that is actually what the gradual evolution is, based on the old gaming scene now.
And I do think that a lot of streamers. I think you're totally right in that assessment. I think that a lot of streamers do actually see their fans as like their real
Friends.
friends. Now, I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
use an example. I don't know if you guys ever watched Wreckful, but I mean,
No.
rest in peace, Byron. He recently died. He committed suicide probably about a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. But um, he was very, very close with his fans, and some of his fans were terrible to him, right? And like we said, there's always bad people in the bunch that are just breeding toxicity. Um,
Yeah, that ruins it.
but
Well, when you can hide behind a keyboard, a mouse, or a controller, everyone feels like they're a tough guy.
correct, yeah, it's very
Well,
easy.
well, I mean, to an extent, right? I mean, that's why a lot of streamers now have these like what's it called, PTSD, or not PTSDs, but like emotional issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because like with the good there comes the bad,
But
right?
yeah. So and then anyway, he was constantly kind of reaching out to his fans. Like I saw a couple of different times when maybe one of his fans would write something on Twitter or whatever, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
they'll personally reach out to them, be like, "Hey, man, blah blah blah. I hope you're doing well, whatever, right?" And
Yeah.
a lot of his fans would do that same to him. And I mean, it's been a real tragedy. I don't know if you guys watch like his chat or whatever, but they've been running old VODs and stuff. And I mean, the
I
community
seen
is
it.
Yeah.
I
devastated.
seen it. I seen it. I personally, I never I watched his streams before his passing. Rest in peace. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, there's these streamers are. I mean, I will say at least all the good ones. They treat their fans with like respect,
hmm
right?
hmm
and they pretty much view it as a one big community. Like they're just one big community, and there's something enticing about that. You can see that from one human to another, the enticement of feeling belong to someone, to a community, to an overall group.
Yep.
And it's the reason why these YouTubers and streamers are so popular these days, right? It's not just because they're playing games or they're like, some of them may have explosive personalities, but a big looting factor to these things is that they create these communities out of nothing, right? May it be in Minecraft, may it be in Fortnite, may it be whatever game, or not even gaming related. These streamers create a community out of nothing, and if they create a really good community, then everyone that's involved feels like they're part of like a family, like a growing community, a family, and it's an amazing feeling. It's pretty much the same thing that Nine and me and Four have experienced with our small band of friends in the online scene back in the day, but now pretty much scaled up to an incredible worldwide scale, essentially now.
You know, I think you can actually get some of this like community feel. It's some of it was actually, I think, created from your local multiplayer space, right? So let's think about games that have been around forever, right? You've got like your Dungeons and Dragons type thing, right, where people would meet up weekly and they'd have their own, close knit group, their community, and they'd meet up and they'd play, right? And then that kind of evolved. Eventually, you had things like Call of Duty tournaments. You'd have gaming stores that would start hosting things, and then they create a community.
The original Smash tournaments were
the Smash
local.
tournaments, right? So like,
you guys remember the Game Boy? The Game Boy used to have a wire that used to connect one Game Boy to another.
I have it.
Yep.
Right.
I actually have it.
So I think this kind of thirst for community and connection between people in the online gaming space. I mean, to me, it seems like that was actually grown out of the local multiplayer space, and people are kind of trying to replicate that kind of community feel they had originally with these kind of groups.
That's a really good point to bring up, and I think that it's a good thing to remember that the landscape of gaming when it comes to online and local have been shifting in the last few years, right? We're seeing what's it called, a return of like what they call couch co-op in multiplayer, right? And mostly it hasn't been by the triple A companies, but it's been by indie games, like people who are essentially fans who back in the day had the same experience, the same local community and LAN parties and stuff like that, and want to bring it back because the AAA companies aren't doing these things, right? You got Cuphead, you got Helldiver, Pro Force, Overcooked. These are like indie games that are like really basically rejuvenating the whole local multiplayer landscape right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big indie game player besides, like I mentioned in the past, like Infamous and Sucker Punch when it was really small.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like your prototypical, mainstream gamer, played like the mainstream games.
You're a typical Call of Duty bro,
Exactly, right?
Loves Call of Duty, hates everything else.
Did you play 2K also? I mean, NBA something? Come on.
You mean the gambling game?
I play 2K, Madden, the standard stuff, But like, I don't really play like games like that. But I guess what we can really see is that I think what stems from local multiplayer and online multiplayer, which is just human interaction, right? I think we've seen this now mostly during this time period with the whole pandemic and COVID-19 and everything, right? Yeah. Like, we're just itching to get out and have human interaction. I don't care how introverted you are. Deep down, humans are social creatures, right? We need to have people to talk to mess with, to joke around with, to just be with, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's the whole essence I find behind local multiplayer is that I'm not going for the video game. To hell with the video game. I don't care what we play, right? Like, we could play board games for all I care.
You want to watch Paint Simulator 2020?
Yes, I will make that. Look, if you guys are in it, we'll get a couple of our buddies. We'll make the video game and start selling it. Be like Paint Simulator 2020. Not even a problem. Write it down real quick. But like, it's the whole just human interaction piece is, I think, the key behind the local multiplayer, which is why I'm just a big fan of local multiplayer, because I don't care like Nine, you mentioned before, the inconvenience of, packing up my system, driving to my friend's house who lives an hour away, right?
Okay, good. That means you can drive to me from now on. Perfect.
I was just gonna say, I was like, Fort lives almost an hour away. If there's traffic, if I hit traffic, this is New York City. I'm always gonna hit traffic. Like if I hit traffic on the way to Ford's house, it's an easy hour, and I don't mind driving the hour as long as, in my mentality, you make up the time being there. So if I drive an hour there, I'm staying at least in like 2 hours at Ford's place, right? Just so we can play video games and just chill, bring beer and like some snacks and stuff and chill, right? Like it's that whole human interaction piece that I think everyone really craves. That's been so hard to get now, right? Yeah. Right before COVID hit. Hell, Nine, you were at my house literally a month earlier in January. We were playing Call of Duty Mobile in the same room. Like,
like even like mobile gaming scene has been kind of like helping and rejuvenating the whole local landscape. I mean, like a lot of local online games are becoming mobile or local.
You know, don't get me wrong. Even playing like mobile games, like for example, like a little bit earlier, I forget the name of it, but it was like before mobile battle royales really became a thing. There was like kind of a knockoff, I guess, like PUBG or Fortnite. And me and one of my friends would play it every day before one of our classes, sitting in like the cafeteria or whatever, the cafe. And we'd be right next to each other playing an online game together across the table from each other, right? So it's an interesting dynamic that's created when you combine both of those spaces.
I agree. Like you mentioned, like you used to take your laptop, go to your cousin's house, pop open the same, I don't know, World of Warcraft, whatever it was, and just play, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's okay too. I don't mind that also, right? I think that's a big benefit online has given us, because I don't think online gaming was supposed to be a replacement for local gaming. Mm-hmm. I think online gaming was supposed to advance local gaming, take it to the next level. Instead of you just playing with the 10 people around you, how about we take the 5 people around you, put you on the same team, and put you up against 5 other people who are sitting in the same room in China.
Mm-hmm. Right? You mean like supplement it, essentially.
Exactly. It was supposed to, I think online gaming was supposed to supplement it. Now, don't get me wrong, right? You have other advantages of online gaming, as we see playing solo games, right? Or me trying to rank up in Call of Duty, for example. Mm-hmm. But, like, the whole point of online gaming, from my perspective, was to always supplement and enhance the local experience, because video games are supposed to bring people together, not keep people locked up in their basement until they're 45, right?
Yeah, 100%. I really hate them, the whole notion that essentially gaming is the typical gamer is someone who's locked in and just doesn't have any social contact or any social interaction, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of gamers are actually quite the opposite. And you see that now really with like streamers. Like a lot of the streamers, they're big social butterflies,
highly
right?
Social.
And that's very social. And they're avid gamers. Like they're huge gamers. Some of these guys are pretty much only reason they're popular is because they're good at video games. Mm-hmm. Like they're competitive in the game. Yet they're really social butterflies. They interact with their fans. They do events, fan meetups. They try to do they organize like online tournaments and stuff to interact.
Yep.
I mean, these guys aren't just sitting at home typing away or and just saying yes and then just talking to himself, right? Mm-hmm. He's interacting with thousands of people from across the world. It's an experience, really.
It's kind of funny too, right? Because I feel like sometimes you can tell, like even when you're online in a video game, like you can kind of tell who's social, who's not social, right? Like based on like someone how they interact in the game, right? Like if I send a message and they don't reply, or like I'm doing something that's like similar to what they're doing and they're not inviting me to like work with them, right? Like
yeah.
You can kind of see like who wants to be social and who doesn't, and like I wouldn't be surprised if some place did a study and discovered that people who are more social in game are also likely to be more social out of game, right? Like I think that's.
I mean, you could figure it out real quick with the quick mic check. Yeah. You simply say, "Hey guys, ready to win this match?" Mm-hmm. 9 out of times, pretty much one person will be like, "Hell yeah, man, let's go," and 2 guys will be like, "Yeah, okay," and the one person will just not talk, even though he clearly has a mic plugged in.
Yeah, that would be me.
Yeah. So like, there's the stigma of like, oh, gamers are not social people. It's completely false, right? Gamers are just humans who just like playing games, and humans are complicated people. There are people who clearly are introverts, who don't want to interact, who clearly just want to play their single player persona all day, every day. And then people who are, true extroverts who want to basically create
kick everyone's ass,
be competitive, and be a social butterfly while doing it. You know, there's definitely a spectrum to this overall. You know, honestly, thinking about this back now, right? Two, you brought this up real. That made me really think with the mobile scene, right? What was the pioneer of mobile gaming? You guys don't know?
Ooh,
PlayStation Vita, obviously.
The PlayStation Vita? No, go back
Pioneer.
more. Go back more. Go back more. Go back more. What is considered? If you think about it, what is truly the
Game
predecessor?
Boy. Come on, of course.
I'm
The
also
Game Boy.
thinking.
The Game Boy. Exactly. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Okay,
It's the
I was
Game
thinking
Boy.
like the BlackBerry. You know, I was thinking phones. You know, I was thinking like the BlackBerry brick.
No. I'm talking about the mobile scene too, and the pioneer of mobile gaming is handhelds, right? And if you
Yeah.
think about it, back in the day, I'm talking Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS era. That was huge for the local multiplayer. I don't know if you guys have the same experience that I have, but I have a DS growing up,
Oh yes.
and
Yes, I had the DS.
more,
DS Lite.
yes, the DS Lite, the white one, the one that got it's really dirty now because white is a horrible color to buy.
Mine broke.
Oh,
I think mine's buried somewhere.
But essentially, what I'm saying is like the handheld industry was pretty much the pioneer of the mobile gaming or local multiplayer. I can basically say with full confidence that I played more DS than I did in my main console at that time, which I think was Xbox 360 or GameCube.
You know,
right?
I loved the local multiplayer on the DS, right? So I used to go on vacations, only like 2 or 3 days to a water park every year with my family, and sometimes our cousins would come. Now we'd be in different cars, right? Usually, maybe there's like 6. Depending on if 1 or 2 sets of my cousins came, maybe there were like 8 of us or whatever. But we'd all have DSs. We'd all have Mario Kart. And while we're on the road traveling to where we're going, we'd have our parents try to stay close enough together so that way we could play Mario Kart local multiplayer from different cars while we're moving and traveling. Like that was absolutely like mind-boggling. Like, and this is like really before like iPhones and stuff got super popular. And I want to say I was if I even had a phone at the time. God knows when this was, but I mean, we don't have iPhones, right? Like. Stuff like that, like mobile gaming like it is today, didn't exist, right? You weren't going to load up a mobile game, all play together, and then, regardless of how far apart you were, it was working, right? One of the funnest parts was like, oh my God, no, Dad, you got to get back closer to them. Like, we don't have connection. We're losing connection. Get closer. Hurry up. Like, slow down. No, you got to get closer. So, like...
Wait, but from a logistics point of view, why didn't all you guys just go in the same car?
Well, like I said, sometimes there was 8 or 10 of us. Can't fit in the car. Too many people.
No, I guess you could have like 5 and 5 if you have 2 vans, but that's besides the point, right? But yeah, no, exactly what like you guys said with like the DS, right? That was me with the PSP. I remember going to my cousin's house, right? And we both had WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, right?
Oh.
Both popped it into our PSPs. He's on one side of the room, I'm on the other side of the room, and we're going off, kicking each other's ass, virtually, of course, in the game. Right, vying for that WWE title, doing a Royal Rumble match and everything like that, right? The occasional disconnect happens, and we go, oh, who's Al? This is before I knew what an AI was, right? I was like, who's Al? And kicking the AI's ass, right? Al's ass in the video game, right? I remember one trip we did, right? We're all in the car, and I don't know how we did this. I think it was remote play or something on the PSP. The PSP had this weird feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of them had Mortal Kombat.
Oh man!
And so we all just went off playing Mortal Kombat on the PSP, and it was just a blast, like. See, and that's what I like about, like, I guess, is that considered local? Is that considered online? It's a really weird gap there, right?
No, it's 100% local. I mean, if you're not losing internet, that's local multiplayer, man. 100%.
I gotta remember if I was using internet or not. I don't remember. I was on his router access. I remember that, but
another thing I want to point out was right with the whole DS local play, right? DS has something a revolutionary feature that I really wish that it will come back.
The chat room?
Well, yes, the Picto chat. But other than that, which is, if you guys don't know what Picto chat was, essentially it was a chat room, like Tu said, but it only worked locally. So basically, if you're on your DS and you go to the chat room, you pick one of the chat rooms, A or B or C, and if there was someone who was nearby with a DS who wanted the same chat room, you guys will link up instantly, and you guys can write and draw stuff. I used to like draw art on the chat room boxes and like send it to my friends and spam them with a bunch of like stuff like that. It was amazing, right? But another thing, the revolutionary feature I was talking about with the DS was the download play. I don't know if you guys ever remember download play.
I don't. Explain. I don't remember.
Download play lets you play a game without even owning the game.
Okay.
So
so like remote play that I mentioned on the PSP.
Yeah, kind of. So basically, yeah, pretty much that era was really good with like local multiplayer. You know, nowadays, like, but let's take today's example, which is like right now the king of local multiplayer, which I would say was the Switch, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Switch has slowly been revolutionizing the game industry with how portable and how easy it is. It basically inciting people to basically try local multiplayer. It's the perfect setup for a local multiplayer, right? It even has, when you buy the console, technically 2 controllers, right? It was designed to invoke, the local atmosphere and local multiplayer for users. I would say it's like the first console in a long time to really push the local multiplayer scenery. And it doesn't even have that revolution feature called download play, which basically in the DS was, if you had a Mario Kart, right? The best game to play on DS in that time. Essentially, if I had a friend who had Mario Kart, but I didn't own Mario Kart, which happens a lot of times, right? You're a kid, you can't afford all the games.
Yep.
You can do download play, which basically lets you download a version of Mario Kart, limited of course, but you can still play with them without owning the game at all. I think the limitation on Mario Kart was essentially you could only play Shy Guy, pretty much.
Yeah, yes, I remember this now. You're bringing it back to me.
Yeah, and it was insane because like it allowed basically I can 100% with a full confidence that feature has allowed more experiences that I can even count. There were so many times where I was like, at a wedding or at a family gathering, and my cousins or my friends were like, "Hey, you want to play Mario Kart?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't own it, or I forgot it." Or so he's like, "Don't worry, just do download play." And you're a kid, you don't care that you're playing Shy Guy, you just care that you get to play with your friends. My best experience with download play, right, hands down. This is like around when I just got the Mario Kart, right? I literally just got the game, and I was going to a wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're a kid. I was like 6 or 7. You don't care what's going on in the wedding, right? Everyone's getting ready, not to be insensitive, but like you're just a kid. You just want to know when you're gonna get the food and when you're gonna go home, right? So you can play GameCube again. But I remember all these kids, all of us are same age group, would gather around, right? And we just talk and be like, well, what do we do now? Like they're rehearsing their things, and we're gonna be here for pretty much the whole day. What do we do? And I popped out that DS and I'm like, you all got DSs? They all popped one out. But they were like, oh, we're going to have the game. I'm like, you got download play, though. And we literally spent that whole wedding playing Mario Kart. Literally. I have played, I think, the whole game, every cup, with all my 6 or 7 cousins. It was like a full Mario Kart race. Every single person was controlled by some person. And it was amazing. It literally was one of the best experiences I ever had local multiplayer. It was so like random, it's spontaneous. Like we didn't plan, like what's it called? Oh, let's get our DSs. Let's play Mario Kart during the wedding. No, we were just like bored. We all happened to have our DSs, and Mario Kart just happened to have that feature. And it incited this a spontaneous, fun local multiplayer experience that I still remember to this day. It was extremely amazing, and I really wish, like, I really hope with how Switch is like really incentivizing local multiplayer again, right? That they add a feature like that. I know there's rumors and Nintendo is looking into it, and partly you can think about the reason they haven't really done it is because the gaming landscape has changed a lot since then, right? To do that, you have to basically render games twice as powerful, right? There's this whole logistics of like privacy and like locking down games that make it difficult and stuff like that. But I really hope Nintendo really does take the first step forward and reintroduces that feature, because it not only lets you basically play together spontaneously even if you don't have the game, but it definitely, for Nintendo, it's an incentive for people to buy the game. I can guarantee you like 3 or 4 of my cousins after that day bought Mario Kart DS because of that experience. Those are like 3 or 4 sales that Nintendo would not have if they didn't have that feature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are things I really hope they come back.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I don't see why the Switch hardware can't support it. If you're talking about a 2007 Nintendo DS Lite can support it, I don't see why the 2020 Nintendo Switch can't.
Well, you gotta remember, right? You gotta remember, like a big like opposer to the local multiplayer scene that people have been saying as the reason is that games have graphically wise improved dramatically, right? And you know, you can say that easily. Like, look at games like Tomb Raider, look at games like Forza, look at games like, you know, the new one, Flight Simulator 2020. These are gorgeous games. They're pretty much undistinguishable in some parts to real life. You know, we're getting there pretty much, right? And to have local multiplayer, right? You basically have to render the game twice. You're talking about a game that's so heavily textured, so heavily graphically intense, and you're basically telling the computer to run it twice now.
Or you'd have to have it downloaded to your friend's Switch, which would, you know, be a logistical nightmare. Like, okay, he's like downloading the game temporarily. I have to stop him from keeping the game permanently, right? Like, there's a whole ton of logistics and, like, I guess, like, intellectual privacy problems that arise.
And you also remember, right? They gotta download the game.
Yep.
Right. This is not a DS size game anymore. Like, it's like 5 megabytes now. We're talking about like gigabytes now. So imagine me now, this era, back when but now I'm 6 again, trying to do Mario Kart Switch, and all my cousins are like, "Give me a sec, I need an hour to download the download version of download." We'll be like, "Well, I'm bored now."
They'd have to try something with like high speed NFC or something, but like I just don't know.
Like, the landscape has changed too much to where it is. Sadly, it's not the same. And like I can see people's reasonings to like, graphically it can change, and you know, to some point, yes. That's why I think of the biggest one, Halo, right? They haven't done local multiplayer in the last 2 games, and they've been the biggest supporter of local multiplayer since the OG Halo, right? I can't imagine how many times I played local multiplayer in Halo 2 and 3. That was one of the best experiences of my life. But they haven't done it since 4 or 5, and the reason, because they cite as a reason, is that essentially the games are so graphically demanding, and they're already reached the hardware limitations that basically they're basically asking them to basically surpass limitation of the hardware. Yeah, that's why local multiplayer has become such a nuisance in the last few years, right? Although, you know, you can also say that the real reason is because with local multiplayer, it doesn't fit the microtransaction model, you know, and there's less money involved now, because if you can play together, you don't have to buy the game per se, which could be the biggest reason. But, you know, it's hard to say, right?
I do also want to point out.
you can also just get that sale of the actual game right there and there. So
ideally,
going back to your wedding example, right?
Yeah.
There were 12 of you, right?
Yeah.
Say if 6 of you had Switches, right? 3 of you had the game, 3 of you didn't have the game. The advantage the Switch has now that the Nintendo DS did not have is that, as far as I know, you guys have like an online shop where you can literally just buy the game on the Switch, right? So now that those 3 people can buy the game on the Switch, right? Convince their parents at a busy wedding to buy the game. I don't know how that would work, but
good luck.
Right? You convince your parents to buy the game. You have the game on your Switch. Now all 12 of you are playing because each Switch supports 2 people.
True, but what I'm saying is that with the download play, right? They wouldn't even have to ask their parents to buy the game. Which, again, like I said, asking your parents, a 6-year-old, to buy the game during a wedding, which after your parents already basically, let's say, probably paid plane fares just to get to this wedding, gifts, suits, a bunch of stuff. Good luck asking your parents to spend $60 just so you can have fun.
Like, get the hell out of here. Go on the dance floor.
Get the hell out. I'm stressing out right now. The bride's crying all over. Like it's not gonna happen. It's just not. But with download play, right? It doesn't need to happen. You download the game. Don't even have to ask your parents. You get to play your friend. You get to play with your friends that day, because it's all about, like, it's a time sensitive thing.
Convenience.
It's convenience, right? It's a time sensitive thing. It's a convenience thing. You download the game. You get to play. You go to the wedding. You have fun, and then when you get back home, you have that experience now. Now you want that game. Partly not because you just wanted to play with your friends, but not because it's fun. You're gonna have a good time, and that's part of the reason a lot of people don't buy games, especially me now. I don't know if I'm gonna have fun with this game, right?
Yep.
Like I see screenshots, I watch gameplay, but that's not the same thing. And if I know if I'm gonna have fun, like guarantee, there's basically guarantee now that I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna get the game. Why wouldn't I? That's pretty much what I'm saying. Like these are the incentives that these companies like Nintendo and even PlayStation and Microsoft should look into with the appeal of local play. Like these are incentives for more sales.
Let's think about the
right?
logistics some more, though, right? So, for example,
Logistics,
if
of
you're
course.
on Wi-Fi and you're talking about, let's say that you're at that wedding and somehow all of you guys get Wi-Fi, right? Which is
Yeah.
still, I think, not perfectly going to happen because, like, if you're
It
not
didn't
home,
happen
like,
during the DS switch.
it,
It
it,
didn't
it
happen during the
definitely
DS.
couldn't happen then. Maybe it could happen now, but even then,
50,
it's
50,
probably
50,
bad
50.
Wi-Fi to begin with. So
Yeah,
you're
50-50.
limited. You're limited there. If you're all going to be interacting locally, you're getting like 250 megabit per second download, right? Maybe like 30 megabit per second upload, like transfer speed between your devices, and that's like max we're talking about. So like if you need to start transferring data, like for example, like video file data, or game file data for download play from like your friend's Switch to your Switch on 30 gigs or even 10 or 15 gigs worth of stuff, like that's going to take a long time. And like, the moment is like past by the time the game is downloaded. And like if you don't have Wi-Fi to communicate over and you've got to use something like Bluetooth or NFC, I mean, you're talking about even slower, significantly slower, probably under 40, maybe 25, 35 megabit per second download, up and download. Like you're talking about like the game's never downloading with that type of speed. So it makes it a lot more complicated now when you start using higher powered hardware and the games are kind of harder to run and larger, and like we just talked about before, it just becomes a logistics pain and it makes it really kind of annoying. And I mean, like I said, by the time you can get the game set up and ready to run right now, you're almost like the moment's passed. It's like, who wants to keep playing now? We're on to something else.
So look, I just looked into this, right? Look into the threats. The big thing we mentioned before, the reason there's not, being an active thing on the Switch is, the higher file size of games,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can share them over locally. Some people even said, what if we just do like a link cable situation? Back to what
See,
Game Boy.
that
Game
could
Boy.
work. That could definitely
That could work. I mean, USB-C data transfers are pretty good,
well,
right?
at least that would work for like file transfer, right? Like if you just needed to like link in order to download the files you needed, right? And then, like that's all you need to link for, like 25 megabit per second to just transfer some like game data back and forth between your switches. That's plenty fine. You're not transferring enough data for that to really be a bottleneck for you at that point. But just to get the game files is the real pain in the neck. And if you can solve that with a link cable, like you can do gigabit over the link cable, like now you're talking maybe there's a way for them to bring it back.
Now, I totally just forgot this until now, right? But technically, there is a game right now in the Switch library that does kind of support download play. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the game called Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics.
I have not.
No.
It's a long name, right? A great name. But essentially, it's a collection of board games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I
Oh,
talked
you mentioned
to
this to me. Wasn't it like a $10 game?
Yeah, it's a $30 game, but it essentially is a collection of multiple board games, like all classics. We're talking about Connect 4, but they're not using that name because it's copyrighted. So like 4 Connect, whatever. Chess, checkers, pretty much any board game you have ever played or think about, it's probably in that game, right? And it's done really well. Now, I totally forgot about this until now, but they have something called a guest pass, right?
Okay.
And a guest pass essentially lets you play any of the games. One person in your friends has to like legit actually uninstall the game, but they can turn on the guest pass search on their thing or local play. And if you have the guest pass on your Switch, you can play locally with him without even owning the game.
See, that's cool.
See, that's and the way they did it was essentially, you have to download the guest pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like kind of like a demo essentially you're downloading from your eShop. Yep. It's a free demo, but the demo basically lets you play with your friends who does own the game. So that's pretty much I mean, once again, it's not the same 100% as download play where you're, instantly downloading the game and you get to play right away. You do have to do a little bit of pre-planning. You have to know ahead of time, oh, my friend or cousin owns, 51 collection board game classic, whatever. And, we can play together. Let me download the guest pass. It's better than nothing. And, and this game just came out. I literally just came out like 2 months ago. It's been a game I've been looking it's not on my radar. Highly, really good game from what I hear. Good praises. And I really hope that this pushes more companies to do this thing. Like, I can see why, with the microtransaction model and stuff like that, it can be hard for some companies. I'm not going to name which ones. Probably won't want to do this, but it's a good incentive for like other companies to give this a try, to introduce some sort of local play demo and interactivity between fans, because you're just going to get good experiences on them. The guarantee, like we talked about this, I think in our last podcast, any game, no matter how bad it is infinitely much better when you play with friends.
Yep.
100%. That's a fact. You can quote me on that. 100%.
Now, let me say one thing that may actually throw off this whole thing. What if you got that one friend, i.e., me, right?
Yes.
Who doesn't own a Switch?
Well, you see, the problem is, you wouldn't be my friend anymore, and that problem will be fixed instantly with no problem. Now, if you go home, get a Switch, and come back, we could talk, right? But I mean, you're showing up at a wedding without a Switch. You're showing up. First of all, why are you showing up at a wedding? It's a pandemic. Don't do that, please. But second of all, I mean, these are also things you got to think about. Once again, back in my wedding example, I was lucky that all my cousins basically had a Switch, right?
Mm-hmm. You mean a DS?
Again, I'm sorry, DS. But that was the thing all our kids had. Every kid back then pretty much had a DS or a PSP during that era.
Yep.
Right? And we're just lucky we were all just the Nintendo, family that all had a DS. Now, of course, like Tu's saying, what if they don't have one? Well, I mean, what do you want me to do? Buy them a Switch? What you want me to collect? You want me to bring over to the wedding 51 board games on hand? Yeah, sure. These things can happen.
I mean, you got a car, right? Like,
I got a car, right? But we're talking about 6-year-old me right now. So 6-year-old me, he may have some Mario Kart experience, but he ain't driving that well, right? So like sure, you can bring in that. Oh, but what if you don't have a Switch, or what if you don't have a DS, or what if you just hate fun? These things will happen, and they're not gonna. If you have a friend like that, then I'm telling you, you're just gonna have to watch. I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to say to you.
So I guess let's get final thoughts in here on online versus local multiplayer, because I know we're getting close to time here. So
let's just say right now, with the landscape right now, we say online multiplayer is over the standard, but we see in the horizon that local multiplayer ain't gonna finish without a fight. Mm-hmm. So what are your opinions on that? Do you think that local multiplayer should come up, and do you prefer local or online more extremely over the other?
So
I guess so. Now go ahead, Ford.
Yeah, okay. So I don't really think I have a very, very strong preference. I think that they're each good in their own situations. I think that having the option and availability to play both of them, either co-op with your friends on the same screen, or locally across different devices, or to play with people who are hundreds of miles away, doing whatever, living wherever they live, maybe who, like I said, I wouldn't have met prior. Or to be able to do both of those, right? To play next to my friend in the same game against people who are hundreds of miles away, right? Like,
yeah,
I think really the best case scenario is you have the best of all of those worlds, and you have the capability to do either of them, right? Because I mean, like I said, the bonding experience that you get when you play locally, and just being able to kind of be with people and get that human interaction is on its own.
It's an everlasting experience. Yeah. I would say it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's something that even I remember now to this day, and I have a horrible memory.
Exactly.
Extremely.
And then, like I said, I have friends who I wouldn't know or be close with if not for online play. And then I've got some friends who I wouldn't be as close with as I am right now if I didn't play locally with them on online games, right? So
yeah,
I mean, there's each one of these has kind of impacted my life in a different way, and I would like to be able to continue to have those opportunities. And I mean, anything that they can do to expand upon either of them is, I think, just great.
100%. Tu, what do you?
I don't know if you could say you have a horrible memory, by the way, or I'm sorry, 9, just because you remember download play, and me and 4 were over here scratching our heads like, what are you talking about? But
once you said Shy Guy, though, it came rushing back.
It came back. It's like a waterfall. It all came back. Once I say Shy Guy, everyone starts saying, "Oh yeah."
But yeah, no. On my end, I'm still in that realm of I prefer local multiplayer. I think online multiplayer is great, and I think we can use online multiplayer to enhance the local experience.
Yeah.
But I'm more of that want to get together and want to see my friends, want to make like an event out of it, than rather just play by myself and just play or meet you guys online and play. I'm more of like, hey, let's all get together at my house and like pop some Smash, and then we just play Smash for like 4 hours while chilling, right? So
would you say that's partly because of like your age now and the stage of your life you are right now?
Yeah, like I don't really view video game. For me, video games personally are not a way for me to relax, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just not what it is. I guess I'm on the older realm. I like looking up the news, as badly as that sounds, and catching up and just relaxing a part of my day, right?
Yeah, you're like
So
the
I don't
old
really
man.
see.
reading the
Yeah,
newspaper.
I'm old now, guys. So it's like I don't really see video games as that sort of experience. I see video games more of a, like you guys already know, I play video games like twice a year. So it's like I see video games as more of that experience of, hey, let's get everyone together. It's an excuse for all of us to hang out.
Yeah.
That's what I really see. That's
Fair
really
enough.
what I see video games as, and so that's why I'm in that realm of local. But obviously, if I'm younger, hell, online all the way. You really think I'm gonna play COD Zombies by myself? Like you guys get online.
Do you
we
mean
play Call
younger,
of
or
Duty.
do you mean have less responsibility and more free time?
Maybe probably both. Let's be
Probably
real.
both. Let's be honest. Like I definitely don't have more free time and less responsibilities now. But even if I did, I don't have the mental energy that I had back when I was 16 to play till 5 a.m. anymore. I just can't. But yeah, going off, yeah, 100%. I agree with both of you guys. Like online multiplayer has done numerous and gave me numerous a great experience. It is a phenomenal thing, and that era of online experience ain't gonna coming back. It's a new form of online experience, and is it better? Is it good? That's not up to me to say. It's not my generation anymore. My brother's generation. We'll see how it is. But I do hope that local multiplayer does have a place in the future and does get a huge revival.
Yep.
It's something that I said you can't. Stu was saying it's not a replacement. It should be a supplement to the online. If you can't show up, sometimes, especially with the pandemic right now, you just can't show up. But if you can, the experience I had in LAN parties, the experience I had with these get-togethers, these are like memories and stuff that I wouldn't forget, and they hold a special place in my heart. So I really hope companies start making incentives towards local multiplayer and really treat that as a primary feature to have in their future games.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I think this was a really good conversation. For all of you who are listening, go ahead and why don't you let us know what you think is better. Tell some of your fun experiences when it comes to online and local multiplayer. Next week we got a really interesting episode coming up. We're going to be talking about the right to privacy when it comes to software and medical data and different forms of data that you put out there with different companies and different providers. So anyway, this has been the 429 podcast. I'm 4.
I'm 2.
And I'm 9, guys.
And we're signing off. We will see you next week.
Oh, yeah. Take care, guys.
See you guys.
Yep, bye-bye.